Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gigi Manicad. I'm a member of the Seed4Food Coalition. And one of the main force for establishing the coalition happened during the UN Food System Summit, where we started from. They did a series of consultation on what they think is the importance of a sustainable and equitable food system. And there they came up with their need for seeds. And the series of consultation from Zimbabwe resulted into a national consultation, multi-stakeholders, regional consultation, and the global consultation. And so one of the impetus for the establishment of the Seed4Food Coalition is having a forum where people of multiple stakeholders, different positions could get together, discuss the important task of seed security, particularly for smallholder farmers, but also a vibrant seed sector for most countries. And the founding members are the International Seed Federation, the Netherlands government, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Minister of Agriculture, and a civil society organization who's also here, the Community Technology Development Trust. And we have also member countries from Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique, and Rwanda. And our objectives is to provide and to enable farmers to access the seeds of their choice, the variety of seeds of their choice, to support a vibrant seed sector, and to also make the important link and messaging of the importance of seeds to food system transformation. And so here we are. Before I introduce our guest speakers, I would like to show you a film which was based on the consultation of the farmers of Zimbabwe and the different multiple stakeholders, their reactions and their commitment. So the film, please.
It is very important that we actually support the complementarity of farmer seed systems and the former seed sector, because these two are not mutually exclusive but more complementary. Yeah.
We need coordinated accessibility and availability of both systems. One worrying issue in the current African context is climate change. Zeroing down to Zimbabwe, quoting the Global Hunger Index, we are at 28%, which is a serious level that needs serious attention. The seed system sector is positioned at the very primary point, which means it plays a pivotal role to end hunger, to end malnutrition, and to end poverty.
If we don't have a mechanism to support the conservation or to support the continued maintenance of materials or crops that are being produced by farmers whose seed production relies only on the informal seed production system, we risk running into driving genetic erosion of some of these crops.
Over the years, you've seen growing voice and desire for the commercialization of farmers' own varieties as seed. which of course the Seed Act currently disallows.
Yes, it's acknowledged that support has been biased towards the formal system. The informal side has been regarded as a subsistence kind of production system, which may not really require that much of attention, but we are realizing that instead, in terms of sustainable food systems, in terms of adapting and developing resilient production system, we need to support the informal seed system.
Asi kunyanya munoda kurimwa mbeu dukwani nokuti inzvimbo inopisa haiwani mvura yakawanda, tinowana mvura shomane, saka inongoda zvekurima.
We call for seed access and availability of economically suited varieties of diverse nutrient-dense seeds of choice.
So let's have policies. Let's have a regulatory framework which includes them so that everybody can participate.
So far, government has come up with a national strategy and action plan for plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. And this strategy specifically focuses on broadening the scope of research to address all the different various crops that are important for food and to allow them to be improved, to allow them to contribute more to the food basket, to the national food basket, to the global food basket, such that we widen the variety and choices of food that contribute to food and nutrition security.
Looking at the African continent, in our context, we only have 10% of farmers that are using the latest plant varieties that are released.
And a big contributing factor is that the varieties are not presented or chosen by farmers, but rather by us, the seed companies. We do plant variety selections where farmers can select the varieties that they want. We also do demonstration plots and we hold field days where farmers tell us what exactly they want.
Government, through its public breeding institutions, before they release varieties, they take the materials as advance lines to the farmers to do a pre-selection, to identify which candidates are suitable for their needs so that they can become candidates for release through the National Variety Release Program. So in a way, this is already happening and it needs to be supported through funding, through more collaboration, and also through diversifying the crops that they focus on, because we still have a lot of crops that are not within the breeding programs.
Access to seed is one challenge for communal farmers. So instead of farmers having to travel to growth points, we work with farmers within the districts, like the committees of our seed association, and they sell our seed for us. So the seed is within the communities and within reach of the farmers, which also reduces, of course, the price of the seed and pushes up our seed volumes as well.
Saka iko zvinoita kungorimawo chibagwe nemapfumbe mhunga nerukweza. Ndonaso kuti ruzhinji kuchanyanya kufarira kudzvara mapfumbe nemhunga.
So we need to increase the size. One way of increasing the size is increase the crop range. We've got crops like indigenous vegetables. These are not included in the seed industry so far. We don't have companies researching on that. We need the certified seed or the tested seed on the market and accessible so that farmers can get that.
The diverse range of food crops is quite rich and it has not been exploited even by the consumer himself. So there's a need to raise a lot of awareness in terms of increasing consumption of the African horned cucumber. The traditional grains, pearl millet, sorghum, finger millet as alternative cereals.
Mapfunde akanakira kuti anoda mvura shomane, uyezve mapfunde kunyaya dzeutano ane utano hwakanaka. Pane vaya vane BP neshuga, tinokurudzirwa kuti tirye sadza rembeu idzodzo.
The recommendation is to utilize community seed banks. In the seed industry, we promote seed testing. We can work with government to train farmers in their communities how to test seed for germination, how to test seed for seed-borne diseases, and how to identify weeds which are detrimental to seed yield, And then we lift up the livelihoods of the smallholder farmers who are the beneficiaries of those community systems.
One interesting aspect about youth is our love for innovation. We are the future, and we have the future-based interest at heart, and we want to preserve our heritage, our spirit of Ubuntu, things that are culturally acceptable to the environment.
Also, government is coordinating, is put in place various coordination platforms. They need to be strengthened. They need to be expanded to include more players, to allow even agro-processors, for example, to be part of the whole system. Because agro-processors will probably produce crops that do not have running variety development programs or running seed production programs. They run the risk of depleting the genetic material that farmers are producing.
Instead of polarizing this area, we need to look for areas of opportunity, specific areas for collaboration and cooperation, and identify what gaps there are from both sides and find common solutions and find each other.
There is need to strengthen the complementarity between the informal and the formal seed system. We cannot depend on one and ignore the other.
And let's work together. Let's support a platform which grows everybody, because at the end of the day, we are all in the same industry. We want to produce food, healthy food. We want to produce raw materials for industry. We want to grow our nation's GDP. And to do that, we should play a role which supports each other.
We have more than 2.5 million people that rely on agriculture for livelihood. And we have a youthful nation that has the zeal, the determination, and lack employment. So we can make use of these to really fight hunger while supporting both the local and the formal and informal seed system.
Right. So after seeing that film, we have the chance to interview two people to further reflect on the topics discussed. And we have the pleasure of having Mr. Andrew Mushita here from the Community Technology Development Trust. He is the executive director. He's also a UN food systems champion, as well as a member of the Seeds4Food Coalition. And we also have Morgan Nzwere, CEO of Seedco in Zimbabwe. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
So let's start with Andrew. In the film, we saw that farmers were using both the land races, improved land races, but also modern varieties that has been newly bred. And I also understand that CTDT is also producing hybrid maize seeds for farmers. So, and normally the idea is that smallholder farmers only use land races or traditional varieties. Can you enlighten us on this topic?
Thank you, Gigi, and thank you so much for having me here. Indeed, I think when we look at the global scale, and as we know, there are about 500 million smallholder farmers. And these 500 million smallholder farmers, 2.5 billion of these farmers depend on agriculture. At the end of the day, the smallholder farmers use both systems of the seed system. They use both the formal seed system and they use also the farmer seed systems. And if we are looking for seed transformation or food security enhancement and higher productivity, we need to acknowledge that farmers use both seed systems. And in this context, even in the Zimbabwean context, yes, we do have a lot of farmers using formal seed systems, especially for commercial crops like maize, like wheat, like tobacco, some of these high cash crops. But on the other hand, also, we have farmers actually using farmer seed systems for crops like sorghums and millets, finger millet, cowpeas, legumes, they use these farmer seed systems. And what is critical is for us to actually support these two systems, strengthen the productivity of these smallholder farmers, look at their seed systems, invest in research in some of these crops, and actually engage farmers, and particularly looking at farmer-led agriculture research. I think this is where sustainability or transformation needs to take place.
Okay.
So that agriculture research is driven by farmers themselves because they know what they need. They know what is ecologically adaptive in their own conditions and situations. So we need to move towards agriculture research, which is farmer-driven.
Okay, so when you say farmer know what they need, so from the different economic rationales and the opportunity of that season, they could combine their traditional seeds as well as buy commercial seeds. So Morgan, from your perspective in Zimbabwe, do you see this happening, and do you see a complementary and cooperation between private seed companies like Seedco supporting initiatives that support smallholder farmers, as well as how you cater to smallholder farmers?
Yes, Gigi, thank you very much, and good morning to all the viewers who may be watching live at this moment. So Seedco is a company that was established in 1940 in Zimbabwe. We are actually celebrating our 85th year of existence next year.
Okay.
And our business model focuses on research. So we've got research sessions dotted across Africa where we are coming up with new seed varieties to address challenges that both smallholder and commercial farmers are facing on a day-to-day basis. One of the key challenges is climate change, and we know that with the changing rainfall patterns, the types of crops that different farmers need are also changing. We also do realize that our small-scale farmers have got challenges in terms of accessing improved seed varieties. So as companies, we strive to make sure that we become, if you want, the Coca-Cola of the seed world, trying to put seed within arm's reach of every farmer. What we're also trying to do is come up with research programs looking at those products that address the climate change issues that the smallholder farmers are facing. So you find that while traditionally we focused on the more commercial crops like maize and so on, we also have research programs targeting crops like sorghum, crops like cowpeas, crops like some of the small grains that the smallholder sector needs. And we do realize that as the commercial sector, we probably have more resources to invest in research. Our research activities also rely very much on the input we get from the smallholder farmers in terms of their requirements. And when we do our product development, when we come up with the research products, we do take them to the communities to choose the products that they think are best suited for their communities. So I think we work well together. And the private sector is much more positioned in terms of funding and has to assist the smallholder sector community in terms of making sure the varieties that are important to them are also championed.
Okay, so you both work in Zimbabwe with smallholder farmers, more or less the same crops. But at the moment, we also know, like in many developing countries, 80% of seeds in Zimbabwe come from farm-saved seeds. So how do you see you both working together in the service of smallholder farmer and also for a vibrant seed sector? What do you see are yourselves? What do you see are your complementarities? And yeah, okay, go ahead, please.
Well, so from a Seedco perspective or from a private sector perspective, what we assist with is producing quality seeds, and the seeds are obviously tested in terms of the key issues of purity, germination, and so on. And we have got the capacity to be able to distribute these to the smallholder sector, also by developing distribution networks to make sure that these seeds go to the guys that are at the back of beyond, that they are able to access these varieties becomes very, very important.
Okay. I understand that, and you mentioned that, but I'm asking, how do you complement each other? Because you're saying that you have distribution system, but still many farmers, many small farmers are not reached. On the other hand, you have civil society organizations working with ICRISAT, with the CGIAR system, with the national government. How do you complement each other's work? Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, our take is that, there is really need to find some mechanism and frameworks for collaboration and cooperation. That is key. And in some cases, some smallholder farmers cannot afford the cost of the hybrid seeds because then the economic realities actually become quite limiting in some instances. But that should not preclude them from accessing good quality seeds. So alternative options and choices need to be developed. In that case, then we need to support the farmer seed system, strengthen that system so that they are able to actually be actively involved in agriculture research, in actually producing good quality seed of their choices, which may not be hybrids per se, but which we need to develop some kind of parameters for quality, which then farmers engage in producing such kind of seed. In our view, we have the champion seeds. I think as we were watching the film, they actually reach out to the smallholder farmers. They involve them in seed production. We have 2,000 smallholder farmers as seed producers. So the technology development needs to also extend to the farmers themselves to facilitate accessibility, cost effectiveness, and also that they can choose materials which are adaptive to the different ecological conditions, especially in the face of climate change. So the actually private seed sector can also reach out, and we can actually come up with some formula and mechanism to cooperate and collaborate with some of their improved materials, which can be also accessed by smallholder farmers in one way or the other. But they have to be cost effective. I think the bottom line there is the affordability. It's not only the cost of the seed, but the cost of the inputs required. The amount of rainfall which is also required becomes a key issue. So we need to really have this kind of complementarity of the two systems, because like I said, they are not mutually exclusive, but more complementary. So that complementarity is what we are seeking, and that's what we should strive to achieve, so that we enhance the accessibility of good quality seed to the farmers themselves. But they should also be in the driving seat. And then that they decide. They are actually in the decision-making process, and that they also can be trained to produce the kind of seed which is good.
So Andrew, you talk about the rationale, but Morgan, what do you see would be the challenges? I mean, Andrew mentioned cost effectiveness. I assume you also want to go beyond that. You also want to be profitable naturally as a seed company, and we all have to earn our own living. What would be the challenges for you for further working with smallholder farmers?
Well, so I think when you look at, for example, the main crop that's grown in Zimbabwe is maize. 90% of that crop is grown by the small-scale sector. Only 10% is grown by the commercial sector. So we are de facto working with the smallholder sector almost all the time. And the big challenge is, as Andrew has mentioned, the issue of cost is a big challenge. The issue of accessibility, making sure that the improved seed varieties are readily available. But also the issues to make sure that in terms of the challenges that the farmers are facing in terms of climate change are being addressed by the land races and so on, I think is an issue that needs to be dealt with. Obviously, when we come up with our research goals as seed companies, we are trying to identify all the key challenges that the smallholder sector is facing, and this is how we formulate our research goals. Our seed varieties, when you look at the goals that we come up with every year, they are trying to address a particular challenge that the smallholder is facing, because let's face it, that's really our business. 90% of our sales are to the smallholder sector. I think the issues to do with funding, the issues to do with accessibility, and also education. So we do a lot of farmer demonstrations, a lot of field days to try and spread the message, and also give the farmers an opportunity to select the crops that really do well in their zones. But it's those issues to do with accessibility, education, funding, quality. I think there are a plethora of challenges that need to be dealt with there.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think of the challenges?
Indeed, there are quite myriad challenges which the smallholder farmers are facing. And in our view, or in our approach, we have established community seed banks.
And in cooperating with the challenges in terms of cooperating with the private seed sector?
Yeah, I think what we need is more engagement, more reaching out to each other, finding common solutions and trying to see how best we can actually facilitate accessibility of good quality seed to smallholder farmers. Indeed, hybrids are, yes, are good, but sometimes you find that if you look at the statistics in terms of the production per hectare, it's declining. And some of the smallholder farmers are not able to realize the potential benefits of hybrids. In that scenario, and this is driven by also their capacity to access the inputs required, the chemicals required, and so forth. They are limited, and sometimes also the droughts, which are actually more prevalent in our region than before. So, given those kind of challenges, it is important that we need to see or seek solutions and come up with strategies which would make agriculture more viable and meaningful to the smallholder farmers. So I think that it is very important that we collaborate and cooperate.
Yes.
We do the same kind of exercise with ECRISAT, with CIMIT. We get access to some of their advanced in segregating material, do some joint research and so forth. And farmers actually get to inform you and tell you the varieties which they feel this is more adaptive to their conditions. So I think this calls for more cooperation and collaboration.
Yeah, thank you. So Morgan mentioned climate change, and currently, as you also mentioned, Zimbabwe is currently experiencing quite a severe drought at the moment. So the need for cooperation is quite urgent. In your view, Morgan, what would be the next steps for collaboration between the formal seed sector, such as yours from the private sector, and the farmer seed system, such as what Andrew has been talking about?
Well, I think so. The starting point is always dialogue. We need to understand where we can assist in terms of the challenges that the community systems are facing in terms of advancing these seed systems. I think the private sector can assist with funding if the programs are clear, where exactly they need to be assisted. The private sector can assist with training. The private sector can assist with our research resources, because we have got a huge capacity in terms of our research stations, our trial blocks, but also just in terms of information, disseminating information. I think it's an area that we could help if we understand what sort of support the small-scale development communities require.
Yeah, and Andrew, you were talking about the complementarity and the need to develop a strategy. Can you give us an idea what this strategy could look like?
In the context of cooperation and collaboration, I think, like Morgan is saying, that they have quite an array of resources which they can put at the disposal of smallholder farmers. They have not all of their materials end up as products which go to the market, but some of them are still there. Some technologies which can be used even as OPVs, which are less expensive to smallholder farmers. So they can avail some of those materials. And also smallholder farmers can select from such materials and utilize them. And those who have the capacity to buy the hybrids, let them then buy the hybrids from the private sector. But they can also play a social corporate responsibility role, where they also avail some of these materials to smallholder farmers. And I think that such a strategy would also be a caveat for smallholder farmers to understand the different technologies which this private sector have and can provide at a lower cost. And I think this would also be a very good PR for the private sector to play such a role. And then that would also create some kind of, relationship between the smallholder farmers and the private sector seed industry. I think Seedco is such a household name, well-known kind of entity in Zimbabwe and beyond. And I think they have the capacity to play that kind of social corporate responsibility. without losing so much, but
Okay.
also gaining so much in terms of their PR and what have you. So I think that Seedco can consider this and we can work together with them in such
Okay.
a
So work.
strategy.
I think working together, and I think the International Seed4 conference here is really a good venue to continue this discussion. Very important topic. We end our discussion now, and I really wish to thank Andrew Mushita and Morgan Nzwere and our audience. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.